Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
And welcome to the Kulturecast. I am Chris Stachiw, and I am joined once again by my good friend, the creator of OughtFiveFilm on YouTube, Mr. Mike Wallace.
Good evening. Good early morning to you.
Good eve, my good man. And for those of you who are wondering where Eric is currently taking some time off to, I guess, kind of figure out where he's living. Unfortunately, he's some things kind of got thrown up in his life, and he's trying to figure out where he's going to be living. So he's taking a little bit of a sabbatical from the Kulturecast. Until then, I'm going to have some folks stepping in for him, Mr. Wallace included. Also, my good friend, Mr. Mike White, host of the Projection Booth podcast. So their lovely voices will be gracing the Kulturecast until Eric gets back. Until then, however, we're going to be talking about the third film of documentary month, Hell House. No, not Hell House LLC. That's a completely different movie, with a completely different theme. We'll probably be talking about that in October, though.
That's not a documentary, right?
Well, it's found footage. It's like a faux documentary.
I say a mockumentary, if you will.
Yeah, but it's like a mockumentary with a horror movie. It's good, but it's, you know, it's a little unfortunate that it's titled the same as this film.
Right. When you get a bloated title like Hell House, people want to use it.
Yeah, right. So no, we're going to be talking about the film Hell House. It was directed by George Ratliff, and it was released in 2001, and it is about a hell house that is performed annually in South Dallas, right outside of where I grew up. It is a Dallas suburb called Cedar Hill. This hell house features scenes that are meant to drive you to become a Christian or scare you into becoming a Christian. And no, I'm not making this up.
So what are our themes that we deal with in Hell House? We deal with family violence. We deal with suicide. We deal with abortion. We deal with drugs. We deal with alcohol, drunkenness.
Welcome. Your journey has finally brought you to the place of eternal agony. Here you will be subjected to constant torture and everlasting pain. Come. Let us meet those who have swallowed the poison of my life. You get her go first. I hate you, God. You did this to me.
What if I was gay? What would you do then?
Please. Oh, you're going to hell, my son.
No.
We're competing for lost souls. It is a war. It is a battle. It is a competition. It is a serious game where life and death is at stake. And we're going to win. If you were to die tonight, do you know where you will go?
So, Mike, I know that this is not the first time you've seen this film because you actually put me in contact with a friend of yours, Zach Mortensen, who is a producer on the film. So, what did you think of Hell House?
Just on a documentary level, it is very good. Documentaries, when they're dealing with sensitive subjects, can kind of be a slog sometimes. This isn't that. I think on a purely filmmaking level, it's very well made. Moves along at a good clip, and it gives you a kind of a pretty balanced view of the people we're dealing with. So just on that level, it's a great movie and worth seeing. On a whole other level of the subject matter, it is fucking crazy, cuckoo, bonkers what's going on in the documentary. And it is definitely worth seeing. This is a movie I think everybody ought to see, to think what people have done with a holiday that, look, I mean, it's steeped in death as it is. We're talking about Halloween, of course, because that's when they put this little Hell House on down there in Texas. Shocking. Look, I was shocked when I saw it in 2001 because I had never heard of this phenomenon. Somebody taking the traditional haunted house and then sort of twisting it to get it place of religious dogma. When I saw it then, I was shocked. Watching it again, I was shocked. And I've seen it a bunch of times since then. It's not like on a heavy rotation in my household or anything. I have seen it quite a few times. I think it's a phenomenal movie. Probably said this last week about it, but it is frightening in ways that the people who are actually putting on the Hell House could not have achieved on their own. And obviously this was not their intention to come off this way, but man, oh man, is it scary.
I honestly am not sure that wasn't their intention. I think that may have been their intention, to be frightening. But I mean, are we talking about frightening in as to what they believe or as to the way that they're trying to proselytize? Because ultimately the Hell House is proselytizing. It just in a very different way of doing it.
Right. What I'm saying is, like, watching this movie as somebody who is not involved with their religion, I was terrified that it goes on, not terrified at the way they're doing it. Like, they think that they're putting on this, I hesitate to call it a haunted house. It's like an old mummers show or something. I don't know. It's like watching the Stations of the Cross, but as directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis. They're hoping to scare people into
the loving arms of Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what comes off as the frightening portion of this film. Like, they're the frightening portion of the film. I guess that's my point. Just watching them do this and put it together. I mean, it's sometimes laughable, but ultimately, their intent in doing it is more frightening than what they're putting out. Make sense?
We did a podcast over Jesus Camp 2 weeks back, and I take a bigger point of contention with Jesus Camp than I do with this film until one certain point in this film, and that's right at the end, where at the end of the Hell House they have this really awkward hard sell proselytizing room where it's like, if you go through this door, Jesus will save you, and if you don't, and that's where I kind of am like, oh, for fuck's sake, come on guys, maybe we shouldn't be doing this hard sell right at the end. But, I mean, up until that point, it's just a really misguided attempt at trying to convert any and everyone to your religion. And what I don't think a lot of people that are overly religious understand is not everyone needs to be saved. Not everyone should be saved. Not everyone is going to be receptive to that saving. And, you look at the kind of group of teenagers about towards the end of the film that are getting into a verbal spat with the police officer about belief and religion. And that to me is kind of one of the better scenes in the film, because you get to see these people being challenged about their religion, and the cop stands up for everything that they do, which I think that's valiant in a way, because if you if you bend in the face of pressure from people that are doubting you, then why are you even believing to begin? But,
True.
what they're doing is it's doomsaying a little bit, it's hypocritical a little bit, it's really misguided, and their general misunderstanding of the topics that they're presenting, I think, is the thing that upsets me more than anything else, because they just genuinely have no fucking clue about most of the things they're talking about, like the rave scene, as they so misguidedly call it, or the gay sex. It's like, oh, we can't have actual lesbians, but we can have a guy in bed has HIV and he's dying. Like, oh wow, you don't get this at all, do you?
Yeah, there is a fundamental lack of understanding about the subjects that they are criticizing, to be sure. The other thing, not to go off tangentially here, the idea of getting people to fall in line through fear is a huge problem for me. And that's just a huge problem for me with most religion in general. Instead of trying to teach people to be better, we just want them to do what's right so they won't be punished. And that's not living a good life. To me, if you're following basic tenets of Christianity, like, you're supposed to be doing the right thing because it's the right thing. And I think if you're working from a place of fear, then you're not doing it well at all. You know, I grew up Roman Catholic. There was the idea that just engaging in the thought was the sin. So, like, I mean, I'm not going to kill this guy, but, like, I really want to kill that guy. You're committing a sin by doing that. Trying to get me to not think that just because I'm afraid I'm going to go to hell, it's just counterproductive and counterintuitive. It's so crazy that that's their point of view. Like, let's really hit hard on this, because the whole point is, you do all these things, you're going to hell. And by the way, wasn't their version of hell fantastic?
It was.
Really well done.
Their version of hell is fantastic. One of my favorite kind of side notes in the film is when one of them is like, you know, if these kids' families come through here and see them trapped under the plexiglass on the ground, they're not going to be very happy. You think? They're trying to show hell and that they're in hell, and there's like a plexiglass floor and there's like someone underneath it in a fog machine. It's like, yeah, they won't be that happy. But maybe they will, who knows? Because I mean, ultimately what this whole film is about is like you said, it's scaring people into doing the right thing, which, like you've said, for me, that's a huge problem. Leading through fear is not great.
Yeah, I mean, any organization that does that, I mean, that's what terrorism is, isn't it?
That's what Scientology is.
Oh, certainly. I mean, you know, there are a few religions that don't sort of traffic in it. I think probably Buddhism doesn't. This, taken to this level...
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
It's so fucking crazy to me. Let me just say, as a Halloween type person, because I certainly am. I was married on Halloween.
You and I and our significant others all four of us are very much into Halloween to the fullest.
Yeah, obviously it's like the #2 holiday at this point, like in America as far as like spending goes these days. Like right. Clearly all of America has now embraced Halloween. We all love it for whatever reasons you want to. This is the wrong reason. I'm like offended, as like putting aside Christianity and the religion and everything. The fact that they've hijacked this holiday to instill the wrong kind of fear in people. If you're afraid on Halloween, it should be because a man is going to crawl out of the fucking ground and eat you. Or, like a demon is going to swoop down and rip you apart. That's that's acceptable Halloween. The girl who gets an abortion, who is going to hell as a haunted house room, is really fucking awful to me. This movie offends me on many, many levels. Or not the movie itself, but the people involved.
Well, and that's the thing that's crazy. So their idea of a hell house is that they're going to use these situations that are non-Christian or non-godlike or whatever justification they're going to use. One of them is, I mentioned the thing about HIV, where it's a homosexual man who's dying of HIV. You've got the woman who had the abortion. You also have the kid who kills himself in the middle of class. And then they got in trouble because they co-opted Halloween, which I agree with you is fucking deplorable for many reasons. But then they also co-opted the year before, which is why this documentary got made, because the co-opting of Columbine is what put them on George Ratliff's radar.
Right.
They co-opted the Columbine massacre to tell about how if they had been God-fearing Christians, that wouldn't have happened, which the Columbine thing was co-opted by the Christians long before they did that. That whole "do you believe in God" story that they tell.
Right.
That didn't happen that way. The Christians have co-opted that long before the Hell House did. But the fact that they think that that's okay to do is really nuts.
It's despicable.
I mean, I get why they're doing it. Like, I understand from a base level as a human being why you're doing that, because it is the most impactful thing you could do. Like, touching upon a topical issue to try and prove your point is something that anyone who's trying to prove an argument does. Even you or I or anyone. If we're talking about, anything, you try to go to the most recent event so you can be like, well, it just happened, look. But doing it in that way is so distasteful in a way that they're unaware that it's distasteful, and that's the problem. They think it's okay, and it's like, you do know this is wrong, right?
Let me touch on another part of this, which is, maybe their hearts are in the right place.
I think their hearts are in the right place.
Right. So I'm giving them that benefit of the doubt. However, doesn't it seem to me, or to you, depictions of these people suffering in ways that they're already frowning upon, and then the end result being them in hell, it may be that, they're couching it in, we're trying to scare these kids into going on the right path, okay? Now, that's what they're claiming. But at the same time, it does feel like they're kind of getting off on it. They're enjoying seeing the homosexual AIDS victim dying. And they're glad that this girl who gets an abortion is going to go to hell. Or the ravers. Like, oh, my God, man. Like, there seems to be a gleefulness to the torture that to me is probably the most distasteful of all. Like, reenacting Columbine, I don't know what it has to do with anything. As far, like you're saying, like maybe if they had been good Christians, they wouldn't have done it. It's really despicable.
Well, and again, it's one of those things where when you look at the people involved, they're not bad people. Like, I believe in my heart of hearts that most of the people, there may be some people who are kind of doing their own nefarious things for nefarious reasons. But I would say that a lot of the actors that are involved aren't bad people. Misguided, maybe. Misguided, probably. But it's top down anyways. Because ultimately, a lot of the messaging they're getting is from the upper-ups at the church to begin with. The youth pastors, the main pastor who you only see in one scene. So it's all top down. So these people are good people, I think. But they're being kind of misguided and misled by these upper-ups in the church that really just are co-opting everything that is good about Halloween for the wrong reason. And the kids probably enjoy it. I mean, can you imagine if you were told you can't have Halloween, but you could go do this, which is essentially Halloween, and like be part of this and dress up and shit?
Sure.
But you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else, but you could do this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can see just from a scare acting point of view, like hey, I get to be in a play basically a couple nights in Halloween, around Halloween time.
I get to dress up like a raver or dress up like the devil. I get to be around fake blood. It's like, that's probably super cool.
Absolutely. And like, I'm sure like, these kids are probably going to fundamentalist type schools.
Oh, they are. They showed them. They showed them in these schools.
Right. And so, I mean, if they're going to put on a play at school, it's not going to be anything but the squeaky clean, whatever. So this represents an opportunity to actually, perform in something kind of fun, it's a little dark and twisted, like probably your only opportunity to do it. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not blaming any of these kids who are playing the parts, I guess. Let me say, here's another offensive thing for me with the movie, if I may. Now, I worked in a year-round haunted house before, so I was a quote-unquote scare actor or haunter for, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Just on a level of professionalism, their houses suck. They're really poorly put together. And, they're charging money for these hell houses. They have a budget because they're charging like $10, $13 to get in. It's not like a free thing they're doing for the community.
And that's what I thought. I thought it was free.
Mm-hmm. No.
Who in their right mind would willingly pay? I guess people that believe in the message.
Right.
Obviously.
And people who have no other outlet for Halloween horror.
Tell me honestly, if this was taking place in Vegas, you're telling me you wouldn't go? Just out of sick curiosity? Because I totally would.
The problem wouldn't be for me to go through it and experience it because I would want to, because I want to see what they're fucking doing. The problem would be in me giving them money to continue doing it. Like I might, you got to vote with your dollars here in America sometimes, and maybe I would not want to be contributing in that way.
Give tithing.
If somebody as a podcaster, slash journalist, like they said, yeah, you can go through. I would definitely go through, but I don't know that I would give them money to do it. That I just can't do that, man.
No, I'm with you. I mean, that's the line that is hard for me to cross, to give them more money to fund this nonsense. And it's not, again, I don't want to say nonsense, because ultimately, if I say that your beliefs are fucking stupid, then I am no better than these people. And these people are very much of the mindset that they are right and everyone else is wrong. And I am not of that mindset. I think that that's one of the great things about this country, is that we have the ability to be different and be able to practice whatever religion we want. Be it you want to practice Satanism and believe in the First Amendment, you want to have the Baphomet statue on the capital of Arkansas's land, sure, I think that that's funny as hell, and I'm totally for it. You want to open up your hell houses and try to scare non-believers into believing in the Jesus? That's your choice too, but don't expect people to not take umbrage with what you're doing if what you're doing is verging on poor taste just in general. Outside of a religious context, you are verging on poor taste. Having teenagers pretending to have fucking abortions and kill themselves. I mean, it's, that's the difference between like a haunted house. You're talking about, say, well, I don't know, if we're talking in Dallas, the Cutting Edge. It was at the time, and I don't know if it still is anymore, the largest walk-through haunted house in the world. It's massive. It holds the Guinness Book World Records. You go in there, there's clowns, there's guys with chainsaws, there's all of the tenets of haunted houses that one would come to expect. And you've got kids working in there. And in my mind, the difference between a kid in a clown mask chasing after you and a kid pretending to kill themselves is the context it's being shown in, because you could have a kid pretending to kill himself in an actual haunted house, but there's no message behind it. It's for shock value. And that's what I don't think they understand, is that with shock value and a message that's a polarizing message, that's where they're getting in trouble.
Yeah, and let me speak to that for a second. I'm a big fan of poor taste. I think
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
There's a total art form to that.
Poor taste is First Amendment protected for a reason.
Right, and I think if you want to revel in it, then you definitely should, and there's no reason not to. Quite frankly, many of the haunted houses I have gone to in my life, not just bordering on poor taste, they've gone so far beyond it that it's insane. I expect it. I think it's totally worthy. However, it does come down to the intent behind it. Like, if you're just shocking people to shock them, that's one thing. If you're shocking people because you're trying to get them onto your side or brainwash them into your religion, that's a huge problem. No matter what a haunted house, no matter what I've seen in one of them, as disturbing or twisted in its conception was, there was never anyone at the end sitting me down trying to get me to follow some other thing that I did not go in there with the intent of doing.
Well, it'd be like going to a haunted house and at the end of it them being like, well, now do you want to murder people with us? It's the equivalent of that. That's the equivalent of it. It's like the message that we were preaching was that, it's okay to chase people down with chainsaws. So do you believe in that? Would you like to join us in believing that? And it's insane to me because there's no fucking way in hell an actual haunted house would ever have something.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Like that. Yet.
Although now that you say it out loud, it sounds like a pretty good idea, actually.
It does. What about that one haunted house where you go up the levels and if you get to the top, you win X amount of dollars or you win a cruise? Oh, no, that's just an urban legend. Never mind.
I've never heard that urban legend.
Oh, we'll take a small detour into something a little bit more positive. So the urban legend normally goes like this. A friend of mine told me about this haunted house. It's the most intense haunted house you've ever heard of. You have to sign a waiver before you go in, and they're allowed to touch you and mess with you. And it's 10 stories tall. And the amount of stories varies. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's called the 6 circles of hell, what have you.
Okay.
And you get to the top of the haunted house, you win some sort of prize. You win $100, you win a cruise, you win something of inexorable value more than what you paid going through the haunted house.
Okay.
And this is a known urban legend. It's not real. I mean, no urban legends are, but it's created out of a nugget of truth. I mean, there are haunted houses where you sign waivers and they will...
Oh, certainly.
Fucking destroy you.
We've got a very popular one here that I am not going to name. That level of haunted house always kind of baffles me, where you do sign the waiver because, look, in 99% of haunted houses you go in, there's this sort of tacit understanding that the actors aren't going to touch you and you are not supposed to touch the actors. It's all about make-believe, folks. And now there are these haunted houses that are a more extreme, I'm doing air quotes, where you sign the waiver. So now you still can't touch them, but they are allowed to put their hands on you. And not only that, they are allowed to like slap you or like throw you up against a wall or like
waterboard you.
Yeah. I mean, I've read of some where they've got something in their mouth that they pour into your mouth. Like,
are we talking about McCamey Manor? Because that's the one that I always think of.
We're not, I mean, that is a perfect example of it. The one here in town is not that.
That's beyond. Like when people talk about haunted houses going too far, you could say Hell House goes too far. But when I think of a haunted house going too far, I think of somewhere where they're literally beating the shit out of you. And you've been like, yeah, I've signed a waiver. I know what I'm getting into. I can only last 10 minutes because they're literally taking my head and dunking it underwater and leaving me underwater for 30 seconds. Like, that's not a haunted house.
Yeah, that's a fucking nut house. But the thing is, when I think about that, and I think about how jaded we are as a society, where like a traditional haunted house with vampires and goblins and like spooky ghosts, like that isn't enough for some people now. Now they need to actually feel in mortal terror terror. All I wonder about that is, like, if you're going to do that, how about, here's an idea. This will, you won't even have to sign a waiver for this. Withdraw all the money from your bank account, put it in your pocket, and then have a friend drop you off in the most, like, poor and sort of a decrepit part of town, and you have to walk home. You could do that, right?
Did you just describe the plot for David Fincher's The Game?
Oh, I guess so, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
An immersive haunted house experience.
Right. The idea of me not being able to register fear unless somebody is, like, punching me in the stomach or slapping me across the face. Crazy. I hope I honestly never get to that. And you're right. Like, when I think of that, that is, to me, in a way, it's not more offensive than Hell House because there isn't a religion behind it. It's, it is poor taste and, whatever floats your boat.
And those people are also signing away. They're knowingly doing it. It's not like you just accidentally wandered into this place and they're like, just going to start beating the shit out of you. You are signing it away knowingly.
Right. Ultimately, like, the offensiveness of taking, look, and it's Christianity. The idea behind Christianity at its heart, at least from my interpretation of it, is always the golden rule of, like, treat your neighbor as yourself. Like, let's all be better than we are. And the idea of, like, reveling in the misery of humans, because, like, putting aside the subjects that they've chosen to illustrate, like, really we're talking about them going to hell at the end. There's an sort of bred notion of, or like a really hopeful thing that those horrible people will spend eternity in hell. Like, wanting that in any way is just, I don't know. It drives me insane to think about. Anyway, have I gone off the rails here? Probably.
No, you're not. You haven't gone off the rails. But I think it's as good a time as any to take a break, and we'll play an interview with one of the producers of the film, Zach Mortensen. We'll get a little bit of an insight into what it was like to work on the set and work with the folks who are the subjects of Hell House. And when we get back, we'll finish up talking about the film. How did you get involved in the film Hell House?
So Hell House, I was working on producing a film with the director George Ratliff, and it was a narrative script, and we had been introduced by another filmmaker friend who said, you guys should meet, talk about this movie, and we're very excited trying to put the financing together for this narrative film. That was probably 1999, and while we were all sitting around in the office one day, the office being my living room at that point, the Columbine high school shooting incident had happened earlier in the year, and we saw a New York Times article about this church in Dallas, Texas, putting on a haunted house, and one of the key scenes of that haunted house was a school shooting, and it was directly lifted from the Columbine High School massacre. And George, the director, is from Texas, had made another Texas-based documentary, and he's like, I think there really could be something here. And so he grabbed his frequent collaborator, cameraman, and they jumped down to Texas and shot just on Halloween, basically like one day, and out of that came back and we cut together about a 10-minute sort of teaser trailer, trying to look at whether it was like, could it be a whole film? And it wasn't a whole film. We thought we should really go back and do it for real. That would mean seeing it from the start through the finish and not just popping in for one day and interviewing a handful of people. So that was kind of the introduction to the project. And then we went out and raised financing to go back the next year and shoot the film in its entirety.
Or you were there for most of the filming, all of the filming?
I wasn't there that first year, and when we shot the teaser, but I was back. It was a small documentary crew for when we shot the film. It was four of us: George Ratliff, the director; Jawad Metni, the cinematographer; Ethan Andrews was the sound recordist, and I was the producer, camera assistant, driver, and among other things. So yeah, we were all there all day, every day.
So the title of producer for you on the film is a catch-all of all kinds of exciting things.
That's kind of the way it works sometimes in film production. But yeah, and working with three other totally accomplished filmmakers, it was kind of an all hands on deck and doing great work.
What were those people like dealing with them directly? Was it similar to the way they were on camera? I mean, I can assume they weren't putting on an act.
Well, I think that was from the outset. We knew that what we wanted to do was tell the most honest
story of this group doing what they were doing. George's previous film was a lot more, I would say, cynical and comedic, and George was very, I think, looked at this and said, we don't need to go down and make fun of people. That's not going to make a compelling film. What will make a compelling film is creating a document of a time and a place and a community that not everybody has access to. Everybody has access to it, but not everybody lives in that environment. So that was really the goal. And I think that once we got there, I'd say all of us on the team have grown up around organized religion in different ways and different capacities, but none of us were actively involved in organized religion or actively going to a church. So it was a pretty, it's a very intense and very active church community with a very, serious congregation. And when I say serious, I mean they're very dedicated to that lifestyle and to the community itself. And I think what we found when we got there was a challenge to our own belief system, which is, while we totally disagreed with what they were doing and their message and their approach to indoctrination of both the audience and the performers, they were incredibly nice people going about their lives, trying to make it every day. And some people you see on screen, we show a little bit of their outside world outside of the church, but a lot of it was really based around the church. And so it wasn't hard to be hopefully compassionate about what they were doing, even while we disagreed with their sort of methodology.
So you mentioned that a lot of the folks that were involved in the making of the film were, grew up around organized religion, but were maybe not practicing or not as entrenched in it as the folks in Hell House. I've got to ask, did they proselytize directly to any of you during the time you were there? I mean, I feel like it would have to come up at some point.
It came up very late in the process.
Really?
And
that's surprising.
Not to say that anybody was duped or misled, because we needed to have permission from the leaders of the church, and they had no illusions about who we were or what our approach was. They looked at it and said, if you guys come and make this movie and one person is saved, we will have done our job and you will have done your job, regardless of what anybody else in the audience thinks of us and the film itself. So they were, but for them to have a professional filmmaking crew come and document what they were doing, they recognized that they were going to have a potentially powerful tool, if not at the very least a document that they could look at and say, yes, that's what we're doing. And we were trying to be as let them know. Our goal was to be as honest as possible, and the only way that we could do that is to have total access to the operations of what was going on. And for the most part, we did. But there was a point pretty late in the shoot, like very close to.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan. #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Halloween, which was when the whole operation, came to completion, where we were all backstage shooting and changing film in the camera and that sort of thing. And I think somebody said something, probably me, and I think all eyes turned and were like, "Wait, you guys aren't believers?" And I think they were just confused as to why we would be doing it and spending so much time. And when I say they, I mean the kids in the trenches, the people that were there in makeup, wearing costumes, sweating because it was hot. They had been doing this scene for 4 hours and screaming, and they were hoarse from their performances. And so we were all kind of like backstage as they're taking breaks or moving around. And I think that whatever we said, and I don't recall what it was, they sort of were like, why would you hang out here for 12 weeks and do this if you don't believe in what we're doing? So I don't think that it was less critical and more incredulous, but nobody treated us any different from that point forward. It was just sort of a kind of moment.
So up until that point, some of the people that were involved in the filming did not realize that you guys were not believers.
I think so, or at least they hadn't questioned it. I think it may not have been like, so we weren't proselytized because I don't think anybody, we weren't actively negative against anything that was going on, but we were going to church almost every weekend. They went to church 3 or 4 times a week. We went once to shoot a service, every week or two, depending on who we were following, what was going on. But so I don't think it looked like too out of the ordinary. We were around and hanging out. So I don't think it was a big, I think there was just an expectation that we were, not part of the organization per se, but that there wasn't any reason that we wouldn't be there for that.
Of the people that Hell House follows, are there any interesting stories about stuff that went on behind the scenes with any of the folks that you guys followed? I mean, some of the people are genuinely interesting people. I mean, obviously you wouldn't have filmed them if they hadn't been, but...
Yeah, I don't know if I have any, making a movie is tough because you're trying to create a story that making a documentary, especially a verite-style documentary, that we're not relying on scripts or archival material or pre-existing historical knowledge, and we're just trying to set up and capture it as we go. And also something unique about Hell House is we shot that movie on 16mm film. So that was also a very unique choice. Even in the year 2000, it was a pretty unique choice to shoot on film instead of shooting on video. And so we had to be very conscious of how much we were shooting because we had a finite budget and film is costly. So there was a lot of pre-interviews. There was a lot of meeting with people and talking about what a shoot with them might look like. And there was a couple of characters who are in the film, but I think we were constantly trying to. There's definitely a character that you see in the periphery that we thought was a major character till we got to the edit room and realized there just wasn't a compelling story there. And it was, I won't exactly name names. It's, it's granted it's 20 years ago, but nonetheless, it's just the reality of making a movie is like we all thought. We thought there was a great story in this one character, and he was active participant and was doing interesting things, in and outside of the church, and he just didn't, we couldn't create a functional story through line in that. And, I think one of the things that's so interesting in the contemporary world of documentary filmmaking and TV is the opportunity for more 1-hour series that are 4 or 6 or 8 episodes long, because sometimes, stories can evolve a lot longer over time. And I think that when you're making a film that needs to have a pretty tight 1.5 hour, story arc, it means that that you can't take the time to explore some of those. They have to be a little bit more precision in how they influence the larger story that's on the screen in that 1.5-hour documentary. And then there's another character like the father who has the teenage daughter who is a cheerleader, and the 2 kids who have physical and mental handicaps, and there was a lot more story of his personal story that he was very open in talking about off camera. That was pretty incredible and dramatic and a major effect on his life because he hadn't been a participant in the church until some of these major life events happened to him. But at the end of the day, as much as he would talk about it off camera, and he kept saying, come back and I'll talk about it, come back and I'll talk about it. And he ultimately never did. Every time we came back to interview him, he would change the course of the conversation and change the subject. And that was one of those, challenges of making a film as well, where we knew there was a big story there, but you have to work with real people to get them to open up. And I think he never intended to let us do it. He kept sort of stringing us along with that, which was too bad, because it was a fascinating story and a fascinating personal story he had that I think illuminated a lot of what that community had to offer as a support system for people. That everybody has their own reason and way of finding their way to a community, a church, a support group, and that was, like back to your question earlier, that was something that I thought was a bit eye-opening to me. Was I do see the value in that support system, even if I don't necessarily agree with their methodology and their message, So I wouldn't condemn that, even though I would condemn their message and how they're saying it and what they're saying. But as a community, it's very strong, and there's a lot of support there that's non-judgmental. At least from what I saw, it was non-judgmental, and I thought that was unique.
Well, and so you just mentioned the idea of Hell House itself and the idea of using a traditional haunted house platform for, I wouldn't say covert proselytizing, because what they're doing is pretty overt and pretty explicit. Do you think, and having been there and seen it in person, I mean, there's one way of viewing it through the documentary, but having been there and lived it, the idea of the Hell House, in your opinion, does it go too far? The film doesn't take a stance, really, which I think is a good thing.
We had a lot of praise and criticism for not really saying what we thought in that capacity, but I feel like the film sort of speaks for itself in that respect. Like, you're going to bring to it what you believe. Does it go too far? I think there's some very confusing messages that are told in terms of their presentation of morality and why people go to hell. There's scenes from just like, wait, the person's going to hell for that? Like that is, I disagree with that. But I don't think that message is going to come across within that community and in their congregation in so many ways that I don't know that the Hell House event itself is any different from any of their other platforms for communicating their message. It's a very public one, but even as a public one, I think the majority of the people that are going through that experience, we had a hard time finding somebody that was going to be negative. Like we were thrilled when that kid that flips off the pastor, or actually the cop, but because he was so incensed. Like, there were very few of those, and a lot more. It's a lot of preaching to the converted. So, but I think if they took a step back and looked at it and like, why is it so popular? Because the kids get to dress up in tight leather pants and put on blood and makeup and become something outside of the regular everyday, what the community is saying is bad, they get to participate in as a performance for these nights. The kid that gets to play the devil gets to put on rock and roll makeup and leather pants and prance around as like the rock star all night long and covets that. And I can't speak for that kid, but I know if that's the only time that I got to do that, I'd probably sign up too, and so, but I think there's a toll that's taken in the having 13-year-old girls play, an abortion, the victim of a botched abortion and dying 3 hours a night every night is a really messed up approach to getting your scripture out there. So yeah, is it too far? I don't know is it too far with the message? I think their message is going to come through in so many of the ways that they preach. But I think that the methodology of indoctrination and even what that is like for those kids to perform it every night for 3 or 4 weeks is a pretty suspect approach.
Well, the way I interpreted a little bit of it is the inherent hypocrisy of what they're doing and them enjoying what they're doing when they probably shouldn't be. Like you said, they're getting to do all this stuff that they wouldn't get to do otherwise, and they actively preach against. And it's just a little odd. It's just, there's a lot of hypocrisy.
But I think the hypocrisy comes from the top. If you're a 12-year-old kid, there's no hypocrisy there. It's like, sweet. October is the month that we get to stay up late and dress up and and splatter blood around, But certainly as some of those younger kids, I mean, there's some really young kids participating in it. I mean, which I think I question that, and I think that they're not questioning it because they're seeing it as their mission. And I think that regardless, it's a pretty tough way to do it. The kids have no choice, basically. So the ones that are psyched to do it, great. But even that, I think there's a lot of, pretty heavy material that they're dealing with. The kids that are sort of less, the younger kids, the 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that are just sort of swept up in the process itself, I think is a pretty appalling way to get the word out.
Yeah, some of the topics with the younger kids really verge on another documentary that we watched this month, Jesus Camp. And it's a similar, like Hell House and Jesus Camp, I think.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output, and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24-related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
A perfect double feature with Hell House
when Jesus Camp came out, those filmmakers and we had even talked about possibly doing some like back-to-back screenings. I don't know who the hell would sit through those, but that would be a heavy 4 hours. But by all means, it's a similar similar reality for that of these kids that you're like, these kids don't have agency to say, hey, I don't want to participate in this, and it's a pretty serious indoctrination and pretty sketchy situations that they're putting the kids in.
Maybe a little exploitative, who knows? Don't want to make that statement, but it might be. So the thing that one of the things about Hell House I really like, and I was curious if these were in there from the get-go or if these were kind of added in later on, that the interstitials where it's the people being interviewed in front of the white background, were those always going to be part of the film?
I think they were always going to be part of the film because they were sort of based on or they took a visual cue from a portrait series, and we're sort of looking at a way to visually break out of the. On the one hand, there's a lot going on visually. To me, it kills me that it's still standard def and a 4:3 aspect ratio. There's so much beautiful HD out there in the world today, but it just didn't really exist when it was not accessible to indie filmmakers at the time. But there's so much going on visually, both over-the-top visuals of the haunted house and the pretty mundane and sedate visuals of things like the church and schools and stuff like that we wanted to bring something else to it and sort of remove those voices from that environment so that they could just sort of exist on their own. And we knew that would hopefully mean something different for each person that was interviewed in that environment. And I think that then that coupled with the Kidane brothers' beautiful score really kind of created this kind of otherworldly, possibility. And just break. Like, you need a break as a viewer, you need a break. So they were a good break, and I think what we hoped and I think was accomplished was a quite literally emotional and spiritual break where you got a little bit closer to those people outside of the crushing environment that is just pushing so much dogma. We wanted them to be able to just sort of like speak their own minds, and that meant a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and a lot of it still was kind of on brand, if you will, but nonetheless, it was always a part of it. How we accomplished it, was we had to come up with a plan to get it done, and so we built a white cyc out in the middle of a field so that we could literally just grab kids as they were going from the school over to the haunted house to perform for the night, and we always captured it right at magic hour because that's kind of when they were sort of arriving. So we kind of designed it around that.
I think that for me personally, those are the most striking scenes in the film, because it's in a lot of these documentaries with this subject matter being kind of religion and indoctrination into religion, you don't normally get to hear direct from some of the people. It's normally told when they're in a setting where they're already around it. And I think that it's important to kind of, even like you said, a lot of it is still on brand. You do get to see their personalities and who they are come through.
Yeah, I agree. I was very happy with the way that turned out. And, it was really, George and Jawad really put a lot into coming up with a way to support that look while we were shooting.
So you mentioned the fact that the film is still in standard diff, 17 years later. Other than the film still being in standard definition, how do you think kind of the film has aged as a documentary and as a conveyance of the message that you guys were going for in the film?
I think the film holds up well to the test of time. I haven't watched it in a long, long time. I still make movies and produce a lot of, commercials and content. And so it is a bummer to have remember the limitations of the budget and the technology that was available at the time. But that's also part of the charm of the film, and also the intimacy. One of the reasons that we chose film was to kind of give it that feel, harkening back to the early days of the Maisels and that the original verite documentary films, and I think that it has that very soft, tangible verite feel that comes along with that. So, but I think nonetheless, I think that I think it withstands the test of time, and I'm still pretty proud of the message or lack thereof in the film itself. We hope that the audience is smart enough to read into it what they will.
As someone who's a filmmaker, do you think it's important as a documentarian to not have an overt bias when making a film?
I think that's a tricky question, and I think you have to look at a lot. There's certainly a lot of films. The very first one that jumps in my mind as you were saying that is Gasland. That's a great, social issue film. It's got a very strong opinion. If you haven't watched it, it's about the fracking industry in Pennsylvania and subsequently Colorado, and it's important that it's a filmmaker who is driven to try to expose wrongdoing. But I don't think every film needs to be that. I'm a big fan of if you look back at some of the films documentary films I've made, I'm a big fan of just document a time and place. The next one that jumps out at me is Style Wars, the seminal graffiti film from the early 80s, and that one, it doesn't need to push a social message, but it's a unique view of a time and a place and a culture that you may not, that nobody has access to unless you're in it. And similarly, Paris is Burning, another one from the early 90s, where while there is a social message, I think it's more about the access that the filmmaker had to a unique situation. And I think the power comes through the intimate relationships that happen in those films because they're a part of the community or because they've been welcomed into the community, which you don't get from news, from, hey, here's this reporter who just met this person 10 minutes ago, sit down in this chair and let me ask you some questions. What you get from that is a bunch of responses that this person has either practiced or knows or otherwise, but it's living with the subjects for months or years is what creates this emotional openness that allows for a document and that really transcends and becomes the power of documentary filmmaking versus news journalism, which is, equally important and I think has a good opportunity to sort of tackle those social messages. But I don't know, I'm veering off from the question, but I don't think it's important that I think every filmmaker should have an opinion, but I don't think that it necessarily needs to be, I think that you don't have to necessarily preach to the audience. I hope that you can create and tell a story that allows the audience to witness something and come away from it with their own thoughts and opinions.
Have y'all kept in touch with any of the people? Kind of, have you talked to any of them in the last 17 years? Kind of, have you heard their responses to the film?
Well, we told them going into it that they would be the first audience for the film, and they were. We went down when it was finished. We went and screened it at the church for the church in a big auditorium, which was a nail-biting experience. But we said we would do it, and we did it. We said we hope to make a film that you guys will see yourselves in, and say, yes, that's me, and yes, that's what we're doing, and yes, that's what we believe in. And so that was an important part of it. So we did watch the movie, and it was they were incredibly enthusiastic about it. And but I have not stayed in touch. I don't know. I mean, George and I still chat from time to time, and I don't think that he's still in touch with them. I know for a couple of years we're still in touch with the youth minister from time to time, but not really any of the younger folks, and so I'm not really sure. One person, the police, the Dallas police officer who was playing the horn at the end of the thing, I believe he was pretty high up in the ranks during that crazy shooting that happened in Dallas. Was it last year? So I think he was still there because I was listening to some reports and some information about that, and I think he was pretty high up in the equation during that. So that was the last sort of nugget I got of people from the film.
So, one of my last questions is, obviously, the Hell House itself is on screen in the later half of the film, and you guys do a really good job of kind of giving the audience's perspective from inside the Hell House. But what was it like actually being inside the Hell House and kind of seeing all this, I would say, over-the-top proselytizing firsthand?
It was grating. I mean, it was, I think you can even see it on the screen that there's just a style of acting and emoting and voices that each successive generation appears to learn from the generation before them. And it was hours a night of relentless performance. And I mean, we weren't sitting in every single one, but we'd certainly in our attempts to follow different characters, we needed to be there and revisit, and go. And we were probably there every night that it went on. We weren't necessarily shooting all night every night, but we were definitely there every night. And it's an elaborate, well-produced event with sound and lights and smoke machines, and it's a pretty, I don't remember the stats are in the beginning of the film, but tens of thousands.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times, or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months, or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
The people going through it, so it's not a small operation. So, I think in that sense, being in the actual scenes is just, just pretty grating, as you would imagine. Just like, I don't know, I've made a lot of music videos over the years. It's just like being on set making a music video. You hear the goddamn song 1,000,000 times in a day, and you're like, I'm done. So it certainly had a bit of that, to it. I think some of the harder stuff was the scenes where we were in the rooms where at the end where they sort of like, preach at the people who have just come through and really turn on the hard sell about, walk through that door stuff. And that is the stuff that got me a little bit more, less because it was like grating and hot and humid, and more because that's where I feel like the kids shooting themselves, it's horrific and it's horrible, but the like, you will go to hell, and what decisions you make, pointing fingers at people is where I felt like it's almost more, that's the scarier part of the operation, and that's the part that made me a lot more uncomfortable.
Well, I would agree with you. I have no problem with anything really until it gets to the go through this door bit, and that's where I'm just like, all right, well, we've crossed over into...
Before that, it's kids performing horrible scripts in a bad student production. After that, it's where they turn into the church leaders really, pursuing the public in a way that is pretty, pretty. It's the shameless hard sell, and I think to a captive audience, so yeah, that's the part that I felt like rubbed me the wrong way the most.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And again, I feel like it comes back to, at least in my mind when I watch the film, a general misunderstanding of a lot of what they're talking about, and a lot of what the situations that they're claiming to be reality.
Exactly. They're pushing an agenda, and they're using examples that they really are just, not aware of the larger social implications. It's just convenient for telling their story based on their, very specific black and white sort of belief system around those situations.
Well, and I think the scene that always gets me every time I watch it is the scene where they're talking about Magic the Gathering, and he's trying to relay to her what it is, and she just zero idea as to what he is talking about.
Yeah.
And it's just that to me is just, it just opens you up, kind of opens your mind up to the kind of detachment that these folks have, just kind of at a base level from what they're trying to talk about. It's like someone who doesn't drink alcohol trying to make you a cocktail. It's like you don't understand this even at a base level. So like zero. It was that's a pretty funny one. I think one of my favorite parts, and it's just a very simple comedic misunderstanding when the kids spray paint a Star of David instead of the like 5-pointed Star of the Devil in the like occult scene, and the youth minister sees it and just kind of shakes his head like he gets it, he knows, and was just like, oh well, kids make mistakes, they're just kids, and we're painting weird symbols on a wall, like it was a very human and very funny, because of the adults that were there, and we looked around, it's like we saw it, we thought it was funny, they saw it, they were a little embarrassed, but it was simply just a simple little mistake that a couple of 12-year-olds that were painting the demonic symbols on the wall didn't quite get the star right, but it was telling. Or when they talk about the white candles and the color white, it's just like, oh, Jesus Christ. The warlock came through and told us, like, yeah, I bet he did.
Yeah, sure he did. Yeah, exactly.
Who is Carl Kolchak?
He's a reporter.
Now that is news, Vincenzo. News! And we are a newspaper. We are supposed to print news, not suppress it.
With the INS.
What's an INS?
Independent news service, sir. Founded in 1904 by Enrico Paluzzi.
Who seems to have a nose for the strange and unusual.
Well, last year in Las Vegas, I uncovered a series of murders that turned out to have been committed by a vampire.
And what is the Kolchak Tapes?
It's a podcast.
All about Carl Kolchak.
What's a Kolchak?
The Night Stalker.
And where can you get it?
On iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at www.kolchaktapes.com.
As foolish a game as any that Gory the Ghoul could make up.
Socks don't have to come in just black and white, and at Jilly's Socks and Such, you can find not only that unique pair of sassy socks, but also gifts for any occasion. Started by former teacher Lori and former student, now namesake Jillian, their store has a pair of socks for every event, personality, and interest. Be it a snarky pair for work, a pair emblazoned with your favorite sports team, or just something silly for lounging, Jilly's Socks and Such can have you sliding into your new favorite pair of socks today. I just recently picked up a pair of Bigfoot socks that are about as badass as they are comfy, and they are a perfect addition to my growing collection of socks. They are located at 3900 Old Cheney Road, Suite 202, Lincoln, Nebraska, and online at jillysocks.com. Mention the Kulturecast and get 15% off your next purchase at Jilly's, and remember, let your socks do the talking at Jilly's Socks and Such.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
Week after week, I'm mesmerized by the focus given great films and questionable films alike. But every episode is a learning and entertaining experience.
This is hands down the best movie podcast. They cover so many different genres across so many years, from obscure movies to blockbusters.
If there's only one podcast about movies and cinema that you listen to, make it this one.
The Projection Booth Podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
All right, we are back and we are finishing up talking about Hell House. So that was, one of the things you mentioned was that Christianity is about do unto others as you would do unto yourself, and all that kind of those really religious-y platitudes, as I would say, because that's what they are. They're religious platitudes, and they're kind of saccharine, and it's shit that's just, this is the way it should be. A religion doesn't need to be built around this. I mean, don't rape kids. The Catholic Church apparently lost that one in the shuffle somehow, too. So it's the common rules that one should live by. And I think once you introduce human beings into the upper management, as it were, of religion, is when shit goes real bad real fast. Look at the Catholic Church. Look at most churches. They're all, again, it's all top-down, right?
Yeah. And I don't want to just sort of point the finger at Christianity. Most organized religions, no matter where the sort of germ of their inception came from, which was probably a selfless thing, trying to fill a need that I think everyone has for a yearning for some sort of connection to the divine.
Except for Scientology.
Oh, well, except for Scientology. Well, yeah, there you go. Well, I just think, they all kind of bog down in a way, and they all sort of obfuscate what the actual message is, because, once you say, like, we want to put you in touch with God, but you have to do these things, and you have to listen to my interpretation of it, because I know and you don't. Like, that's where it gets sketchy, and they all do that almost immediately, and then they sort of grow in, this giant creature, effectively.
But you know what? They speak in tongues. And speaking in tongues is just like speaking in another language.
Yes. Have you seen people speaking in tongues? Now, I would actually like to see someone speaking in tongues instead of the sort of insane baby talk that passes for speaking in tongues these days. To me, don't you think the idea of speaking in tongues is that you're suddenly speaking in languages that you don't even understand, but they are real?
Are we talking about, like, in The Exorcist, where Reagan starts speaking in, like, Aramaic?
Yeah, like, that. To me, that's speaking in tongues.
There's no way she should know this language. Where would she have had Aramaic? Yeah, that to me is more speaking in tongues than just like, it's like, oh, fuck you. Like, you're just not even talking, and you're not even saying anything. You're just mumbling shit.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
But again, it's we talked about this a little bit, and by a little bit, a lot, I mean a lot, when we did the Jesus Camp podcast, to the point where Mike and I were just baby talking back and forth at the end of the podcast for humorous effect. It's about the Spirit and the Lord coming through you and overcoming you and you becoming one with the Lord. And it's so bogus, because that's where you're going too far and you're going off the spectrum. And the saccharine platitudes become gibberish, goo-goo baby nonsense. And how can I take what you're trying to do seriously with Hell House? Because they're trying to do something serious with Hell House. They're trying to convert people and warn people of the error of their ways by not being Christians. But how are you meant to take anyone seriously when they're fucking talking like a baby? Like they had their face in a stroller and they're going, blah, 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 blah. It's like, That's not the Lord overcoming you. That's you just throwing vowels together and not forming a fucking word. It's like aphasia. That's all it is. My uncle had a stroke and he has aphasia. So is that what you're saying? That this is essentially what this is? Because I'd be more apt to believe that he's smarter than you guys are. And you're just rattling off words, unfortunately. It's silly.
Let's, speaking of silly, let's talk for a moment. We mentioned it briefly early on. The ineptitude of the planning of this Hell House. My favorite moment in the entire film is, I believe it's during the rave scene where they're trying to discuss the date rape drug.
What is the name of the drug? What's the actual name?
Nobody fucking knew. I was just like,
roofie.
Oh yeah, roofies. Okay, well that's what it is, right? Well, like, let's not even find out that it's for hypnol. You know, like, it's just like, yeah, like, oh, I've heard of that. That's something in the news. Let's make an entire scene that depicts the usage.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Of this thing that I have a base, not even a base knowledge. I have like second or third hand testimony of this subject. Turn it into a gateway to hell. It's so crazy. You know, how about the abortion clinic? Does anyone do any research at all?
Well, it could be like the scene where they're writing the script and they're talking about Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Completely removed from what even Magic the Gathering is. But they're using it like in Jesus Camp, they use Harry Potter. It's this, right. Like, we don't understand it. We think that, you know, because on the face of it, it has to do with wizards, or Magic the Gathering has magic in the title, that automatically it's against the church, and the church is anti-magic, and we don't stand for no demons and warlocks and witches and goblins and ghouls. It's like, you are asking people to believe in a giant space zombie, and you're telling other people that playing a card game is going to lead them astray.
And God forbid, once they've heard that this thing is bad and anti what they believe in, God forbid they actually like bother to read the thing or view the thing or research it in any way, rather than just sort of swallow what the elders in whatever their religion are like pouring down their throat. I just find that so incredibly offensive. You know, we talked about this when we were talking about why we fight, the sort of basic tenet of question everything. Here it's needed more than ever. Like, I can't imagine somebody telling me that here's this piece of fiction, it is inflammatory and goes against everything you believe, and me not at least trying to do a little research and find out exactly what it was. The fact that they're doing that on this scale and using it to frighten people away from those behaviors. Look, I'm not saying anyone should be like date raping or anything. Do they have any concept of what a rave was actually like, or did they maybe see it in a movie? They've heard what an abortion clinic is supposed to be like, so they just sort of like make it the worst one they possibly can. The one guy with the sort of internet, like that guy's story is tragic to me. The guy with the kids, and you know, he's got the one sort of epileptic child. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right now, his wife on the internet found another fella, left this guy for him. So now he's turned that into a room at the Hell House, like internet dating or internet infidelity. That is a thing now? Like, that's one of the sins that you're going to hell for? Like,
I thought it was infidelity.
Yeah. Was that one of the things that was, like, on the radar? Was that in the news, or does that just happen to the guy? So, like, this is how he gets back at his wife?
Probably the latter is what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And there's the problem with religion. It starts out where you're trying to deliver what you think is God's word, and you're trying to bring everyone up to the divine. But human emotion gets involved in human desire and need, and suddenly it gets perverted into something else. I think that's a perfect little microcosm of the sort of greater macrocosm of religion with that guy's story. Like, this happened to me, that the one who did it to me is going to hell. Like, I want to see it happen. Or, you know, let me warn others, quote unquote, about it. If that wasn't wish fulfillment, I don't know what was.
We as human beings get involved in something like this, it all just kind of falls apart. And I think that their intentions were misguided, but I think they're all true believers. I'll tell you that much. They all believe in the one true gospel, but but I think they're going about it all the wrong way. And I think proselytizing is a problem. I mean, again, we talked about this on Jesus Camp, but I have no problem with anyone being religious. Go for it. I mean, again, that's what makes this country versus Saudi Arabia, or, you know, name any other country where you're not free to practice a religion of your own choosing, is that you can practice whatever religion you want and you can't get persecuted for it. But don't proselytize.
Yeah.
Especially not to me, because I am the least receptive person, and I have friends who have tried. And my response to them was, you're not changing my mind any more than I'm changing your mind. So unless you want to just have a conversation about the tenets, there's no point in you trying to change my mind or convert me over, tell me how I should care about wanting to, you know, believe. It's like, I get that you are passionate. I get that you care about me as a human being. And I am thankful that you care enough about me to want to tell me about this. But it's not for me. And that's the way it goes. And that's what these folks don't seem to get, is that they think that everyone should be receptive all the time. And if you're not, then you're going to hell. The end.
Do you remember there was a Larry David joke about liking lobster? Like, yeah, I think lobster's the greatest thing, but I'm not going to walk up to everyone all day long and say, "Oh, have you tried lobster? It's really good. You really should try it." Whatever their motivation in trying to convert other people, it's not very welcome. Another problem with that kind of idea of converting others, it's kind of built into the religion where, and they say this in this, you know, everyone who goes to hell, it's their fault as well, because they didn't do their job to convert them. That's, to me, seems like another huge problem with organized religion, that it's like anything, it needs to keep growing. Like, you need to have more and more members in order to sustain the thing. I gotta say, like, you know, in Roman Catholicism, the mortal sin of, like, birth control, is it there because, you know, as Monty Python once theorized, every sperm is sacred?
Every sperm is good. Every sperm is needed in your neighborhood.
Yeah, or is it because we need as many followers as we can, so multiply, and then we've got, you know, you have a family of 8 kids, suddenly we've got 8 new members of the church. That's all crazy. Now, having said that, let me just double back for a second, because what you said about, as much as I feel organized religion is a problem, I don't have a problem with people involved in organized religion either. Whatever gets you through the night is fine by me, as long as you aren't harming others or you aren't bothering me with it, you know?
And like they say in Game of Thrones, the night is dark and full of terrors, and I think that, I mean, they talk about that in regards to religion in the show, and that for a lot of people is what gets them through the night, is their religion, and believing that they'll wake up the next day and God will still be there and everything will be fine, and that they'll continue to go on in the good graces of God.
The idea that there's no order to life is a terrifying one. We all want to believe that there is a purpose and a plan. If you need this thing where you go to a place once a week where they reaffirm that for you, and that keeps you safe and sane, yeehaw, it should stay there. It should stay with you. It doesn't need to come into my life. That's ultimately where it kind of gets offensive. When I say I was raised Catholic, man, I went to Catholic school my entire life. kindergarten through high school. So I know a thing or two about being proselytized at. And at around age, I don't know, 12 or 13, I could kind of decided that there was no God. Like, I don't know that I'm an atheist. I'm more of an agnostic. I like to hedge my bets a little, I guess. The thing is, when we're saying about organized religion, if you like it, good, go ahead and do it. Don't proselytize at me. I find that sometimes atheists are just as zealous.
Oh, they totally are.
And they will just get in your face about it. And it's like, I don't agree with those people, but I also don't agree with you. So why don't you all just shut the fuck up?
That's like my boy Bill Maher, dude. He's so smart. He's so smarmy. He's such an asshole. And he is the opposite of these folks for the atheists. So
yeah.
And we talked about that at the Jesus Camp podcast. I'm an agnostic atheist, so I'm right there with you. And I have met plenty of atheists that are obnoxious assholes. In the same way that these people are obnoxious. And I can say someone who's an atheist is an obnoxious asshole because I am an atheist as well, and I will call you an asshole if you do that because you deserve it. But I am not a Christian, therefore I will not call someone who is a Christian an asshole because I'm not Christian, and so I don't feel like I can call you an asshole.
Don't call them an asshole just because they believe in Christianity, but there are Christians who are putting on fucking hell houses who might be kind of a cocksucker.
Oof. Don't let them hear that.
Yeah, well.
Or you're going to hell, and I'm going to hell.
I've got the forces of darkness behind me, so.
That's true. You're dealing with your own special brand of hell house.
That's right.
It's more of the fun kind.
Yeah, man.
It's the kind that I think more people should go to and not this nonsense.
Definitely not this one. Listen, go to any haunted house. Support local haunted houses. There's if you go to Los Angeles, you can spend an entire Halloween season just going to people's home haunts. They are fantastic. They're made with love as opposed to this type of thing. Don't give these people your money. That's all I can say.
And again, I think that this is made with love, but it's misguided.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of doing this, why don't you just do a trunk or treat, which is as lame as it fucking sounds, but that's the one thing that I always kid around with my religious friends. Oh, you're going to go trunk or treating? Oh yeah. So trunk or treat. You know what trunk or treating is? Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Trunk or treating, for those who don't know, is parking your car in the parking lot of the church on Halloween and all the kids walking around between the cars and getting candy from the people sitting on their in their trunks, I guess. It's so lame. If you don't want people to make fun of you, don't paint a target on your forehead, because that is what Hell House is. That is what trunk or treating is. That is what saying Harry Potter is the devil and Magic the Gathering not understanding what it's like. You're making it easy for people to make fun of and for people to take the piss out of what you're doing, because the easiest way to take the piss out of someone is to just make fun of them and make fun of them about stuff that they're doing that they think is, sacred or holy or in the right way, and you're in the wrong way. And that's the way I look at this Hell House thing. It's these people don't fucking understand essentially any of the things that they're talking about for the most part. They don't understand the rave scene, regardless of how much that one guy is like telling everyone he knows about the raves. And then, the abortion thing, none of those people have ever dealt with an abortion firsthand. So they're making this up as they go. The school shooting thing, that's the most in poor taste.
Oh, I think that's all kind of equally important.
Yeah, it's all bad. It's just how far are you willing to be like, this is the worst? This is the worst. Yeah, it's kind of personal.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
The person, but it is all pretty bad, so.
The homosexual who has AIDS is pretty fucking horrible.
Yeah, that's. Ooh. I like how showing a lesbian couple was too far, yet showing someone wasting away from AIDS isn't.
Right.
What? Whose logic is that?
Oh, because, seeing two girls together, that is a sinful thing. But, if we show the effects that gay men are going to have AIDS, that's okay. I don't know.
I just don't think they were okay admitting that they wanted to see two girls kiss.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly was the intent of the room, and then somebody sabotaged it.
Yeah, they're like, hey, what's the two cutest girls can we get to kiss each other? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Totally down. This is really bad. Yeah, it's kind of the worst. I was like, the worst thing we could come up with, guys. Yeah. And then someone's like, this isn't happening. Cancel the room. It's like, shit, fuck. We really wanted this goddamn lesbian room. Fuck. Yeah, I'm with you. Go to a fucking haunted house this Halloween, folks. Halloween is in 2 months. Go to a real haunted house where people are putting time and effort in. And that's the long and short of it. Watch this movie. This movie, I think, is a very good movie. I think it's an important movie to watch. I think it's a fantastic double feature with Jesus Camp because it's talking about essentially the same thing, but kind of the different side of the same coin. But yeah, these people are just about as misguided as the Jesus Camp folks are.
Completely. I agree. Everyone should see this movie, particularly if you're a Halloween type person, to see how far people can hijack what is essentially a fun holiday, turn it into this twisted version of itself. Halloween started out, it was supposed to be a scary thing, but it was a scary thing because you should fucking, like I said earlier, like you should be running from the forces of evil because they're coming to get you. Twisting it into just another way to sell your religion is really gross.
Well, they're taking back Halloween.
Oh yeah,
from the heathens. That's what it is. We're taking it back.
And the funny thing of that is, of course, that Halloween was a pagan holiday to begin with, just like most Christian holidays. They have their roots in pagan holidays, and then we just sort of like co-opted them. Not we, because it's not me anymore, but Christians sort of co-opted that popular holiday to take it away from the original practitioners, turn it into their own thing. They can't win on this one, though. That's the ultimate sort of good thing in watching this. Like something like that will never catch on. At least that's what I hope. I'm
right there with you, because Halloween is my favorite holiday of the year. It's the holiday I look forward to the entire year. I love fall. I love that time of the year. Everything about fall is great. And coupling that with a holiday that is essentially gives me an excuse to watch a horror movie every day and put myself into that mindset for Halloween, I think that, and so it makes Halloween great. And them trying to be like, hey, this is our holiday again. Want to love Jesus some more? It's like, no, this is not. Nope. Wrong answer. Sorry.
Nope. Sorry. If anyone owns this holiday, it's our Lord Satan.
It's the fucking weirdos. And us weirdos own Halloween, even from the people that dress up like slutty Beetlejuice. And you know who you are, and you should knock it the fuck off.
Yeah, stop that shit.
Stop dressing up like sexy Freddy Krueger. It's giving me a fucking weird erection and I don't understand it. Good Lord. Ugh. What would you give this film out of 5?
I'd give it a 4.5.
Yeah, I would give it a 4.5 as well. It's really well made. It's too bad it's not in HD, but there's something about it that's charming in it being like standard def 4:3. Like there's something charming about it.
Absolutely. It feels more handmade in the good way what these people are actually producing at their like Hell House. Like you can see the love behind the filmmakers' intent here, as opposed to what these people are trying to pull off.
As opposed to them not knowing what a pentagram looks like and
oh my Christ,
doing a Star of David instead.
Wow.
Again, don't paint a target on your forehead if you don't want people to take fucking shots at you, because you're dumb.
The ineptitude of it all.
The ineptitude is astounding. Well, we'll take another break and we'll play a preview for the next Kulturecast.
For 35 years, a secret group has controlled the way you see movies.
There are clergy in the room. These are moral censors.
They forced great filmmakers to change their art.
I was so devastated.
I got the call and they said NC-17. That's when my blood turned to ice water.
Because the studio won't release your movie.
No advertising budget. You can't run TV spots.
No one's ever found out who they are.
Who is controlling this thing and how are they controlling it?
No one knows. That's the whole point.
Until now.
We're actually hiring a private investigator to try to find out who these people are on the board.
It's time. The MPAA got a rating of its own.
The MPAA is that pinkish color building. There's absolutely no way of going in.
When an Oscar-nominated director and a private dick
They're going to all start coming out. We'll take some plates. That's the camera. It looks just like a little bit.
dig deep.
Oh, a lot of women. We need to go for this.
I'm going to put on my safety belt.
He's not even looking. I got him. Right there. Got a raider.
To expose Hollywood's dirtiest secrets.
Whoa. One woman is topless, breast exposed. So what I don't understand is who's counted the Do you ever do interviews at all?
No.
I'm already divulging a lot here. At some point, I think I have to draw a line.
For seeing my pubic hair, we get an NC-17.
Violence is fine, sex isn't.
You almost got us caught. They were going, look at that man. Is he filming us?
Discover the movie
You are dealing with a very powerful censorship group.
Hollywood doesn't want you to see.
I'm going to say the F word. It's the fascist system.
Hi, is this the MPAA? Yes. I'd like to submit my film for a rating. It's a documentary. It's about how films are rated.
This September, censorship gets fucked.
That's right. On the next Kulturecast, we're going to be talking about the final film of Documentary Month. We're going to be talking about a little bit more of a lighthearted subject. We're going to be talking about This Film Is Not Yet Rated, a film about the MPAA and how they affect every single movie that you have ever watched in your lifetime. And I am not exaggerating that point. The MPAA is, I think they might be the most nefarious group we've talked about this entire month, especially in regards to what we do.
Right.
So, until then, however, what have you been up to, Mike?
I don't know, man. I've been recording a lot of podcasts recently, it seems.
Sorry.
No, that's
sorry, bro.
Working and doing this and other podcasts on similar topics, though not hell houses. Although, kind of hellish in some cases, some hell houses, I guess. How about you, Chris? What have you been up to?
Oh, doing this little Tales from the Crypt podcast with you, doing this little Twilight Zone 1985 podcast with you and White Mike, doing this podcast, just living, man, trying to be the best Christian that I can, loving Jesus.
Here's another thing I've been doing this weekend. Specifically, I was rewatching the TV series Penny Dreadful. Did you ever watch that show?
I haven't.
It's great, man. Like, really good.
I tried watching Heathers.
The TV series?
No, the movie.
Oh, the movie.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Dan Waters, good script.
It seems okay. Christian Slater's kind of a weird dude. Kind of always has been. Kind of always will be.
Yeah. No, I like that movie. Heather's a good movie. Particularly, look, let me tell you, when it came out, there certainly was nothing like it, and I don't think you can do that. You couldn't do it today.
As shown by the fact that they literally didn't air it because of all the school shootings.
Right. That is definitely from a time and place, that original movie, Heather. And as I said, there really wasn't anything like it, well, like when it came out. Like, I mean, the 80s were all about sort of, giving a more realistic voice to teenagers, or sometimes in the voice of John Hughes. No one had come at it from the point of view of that sort of level of dark humor, the utter viciousness of high school life. So it still holds a place in my heart, that movie.
I do love me some Winona Ryder, though, because she is then, now, and forever just absolutely one of the most gorgeous women in Hollywood.
Yeah,
she has not aged at all. Her and Keanu, they have not aged. They don't look like they've aged one day.
Oh, I don't know if they haven't aged one day. They still look spectacular. I will give them that. But if you put Heather's Winona Ryder next to Stranger Things Winona Ryder, you'll know what I'm talking.
What about Winona Ryder when she was in Star Trek? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Spock's mom.
Yeah, sure. She was in it for a while of 10 seconds? It was so exciting when they announced she was going to be it.
Yeah, and then spoilers, she died. So, man, Winona Ryder's great. Keanu's great. Anyone in the 80s, man, I'm a fan. Yeah. 80s are a wonderful time for movies.
Indeed.
Please head on over to Kulturecast.com where you can find out more about today's episode. You'll find links over to iTunes where you can rate and review the show, and you should. And to Patreon where you can kick a couple dollars our way. We've got some interesting patron perks if that's a thing you're into. If you want to do that, go for it. I'm not going to complain. You can follow me on Twitter at CultureStash. You can follow Mike on Twitter at FatherMalone73. And you can follow the Kulturecast on Twitter at Kulturecast. Big thanks as always to Eric and Wavoka for the intro song Lament, and my good buddy Justin for our outro song Two Step. And as always, big thanks to you, Mike, for stepping up and helping me out when I needed it most.
My pleasure, brother.
And we'll see you on the next Kulturecast.
Posted with the crew. You know how we do, I'm just two-step, drink in my right hand, phone in my other hand, getting to the money, oh man, two-step, posted with the